Okay.
Yes. In fact, it's not my question. I have received 2 questions from our participants. So I'm going to ask their questions to you.
Okay.
So the first one is, what is the role of the education institutions on building an ideology or breaking an ideology of the students or in the public? If it is possible, should the educational institutions stay outside of building an ideology on individuals by teaching education? When do universities stand, especially collective ideology production?
Okay, can you say the question again, but more slowly, please?
Yes, of course. Sorry. What is the role of education institutions on building an ideology or breaking an ideology of the students or in the public? If it is possible, should the educational institutions stay outside of building an ideology on individuals by teaching or education? Where do universities stand, especially collective ideology production?
Okay. Okay, so to some extent, I've talked a bit about that already, but let me try and direct my comments to the precise question. The point of education is to help you understand the world in which you live. Okay. So it should not be teaching things that it takes to be false. As I define the word, ideology is a false view. So universities should not be teaching anything that's ideological. They should be teaching people the truth. Okay, sometimes what is true is contentious. And so when you teach people, you have to be aware that you may be wrong. And so it's important to teach things in a way that makes people aware that what you're teaching should be viewed critically. That, I think, is a prime function of a university, not just a university, all educational institutions. And let me just point out that education does not stop when you leave university, okay? Education is a lifelong thing. You're going to be learning new things while you're alive, or at least you hope you're going to be. I certainly am. So education is an ongoing process which starts the moment you're born and will finish only when you die. And education should be about your understanding of the world correctly. So as I've stressed, education is not only about what you teach, but how you teach. And if the person who's discussed this most sensibly, I think, is the Brazilian educationalist that I mentioned earlier, Paulo Freire, who wrote a number of books, but probably the most important is called The Pedagogy of the Oppressed, where he talks about precisely the way the education system, at least in Brazil at the time he's writing, functions to inculcate an ideology and to propagate the power structure of Brazil in the time he's writing. So just as I recommend Chomsky and Herman, I recommend Paulo Freire's Pedagogy of the Oppressed as well.